7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hey everybody, welcome to the MGF Podcast. This is episode 25 of the show with a temporary name, where we talk movies, shows, games, Lego, and whatever else. Joining me as always is Tait.
Once again, guys, we actually have Lego stuff to talk about. Woohoo!
Oh man.
Wow.
Dude. Yeah, so we've got Endgame updates, which I'm excited about. Because today, I was just working on Black Widow, and what's today's date, Tait? Today is the 15th?
The 15th of September.
15th.
Yep.
It is one of my puppy's birthdays.
Woohoo!
So
happy birthday.
Coco is now 3. You don't see her in any videos really, but yeah, so I'm working on Black Widow and gearing up to make Ronin, and I've probably talked about this on the podcast at some point, that they're just going to be easier figures to make than Captain America and Iron Man. So I'm hoping, and I can just about guarantee you will see them a lot quicker than those two. And I said that I'm going to be picking up the pace, and I certainly have done that already. With Black Widow, I've already got the bulk of the torso done on the front. And then I just have to paint the back. And with her arms, I did a lot of the 3D elements for those today. And then as soon as I think I have to design and glue on the elbow pads. And once all that's done, just got to glue those in place and seal it all over, paint all the detail on, which really isn't that difficult. And then painting out the legs, got to make her staff, and that'll be it for Black Widow. Like literally that quick. It won't be that bad. It's just paint work for the most part. I mean, her pack that's going to go on her back is going to be a little bit more time consuming because I might try to make that a separate piece. But yeah, man, as far as Endgame updates go, I've definitely been primarily working on her. I am starting to paint a face for Hawkeye, and Ronin. And then I got the hood figured out, Tait. I
Awesome.
Ordered a cast for a hood. It's actually an Assassin's Creed design that I'm going to modify a little bit. Remove the point that comes down from the hood and a little bit of the collar that's inside. You can probably see it. I'll do a making of video probably, which is when you'll be able to see what the hood will look like before I get to work on it. But I'm really excited because that hood was going to be a pain in the ass if I couldn't find a good cast to use for it. So shout out to Chris McLovin on Instagram for letting me know which hood that he used for his amazing Ronin. You can check that out on his page. But yeah, and I'm looking forward to doing the next showcase, man. I'm going to put together some sick intros once I get through these figures, and I already have the skits written out, by the way, for that showcase, like way in advance. I'm telling you, Tait, I mean, you and I have joked so much on Endgame. It is just so easy to meme. Mm-hmm. I mean, like with the way the movie's mechanics play out. We have talked about the inconsistencies of Endgame and how it functions with time travel and all that stuff at length, and so it's really easy to write skits. But yeah, man, so I'm looking forward to that, and working on Black Widow some more today and doing those arms so I can get the first teaser out the door and on Instagram. That'll probably be of Widow on Vormir. But as far as other stuff, Tait, I repainted my Arthur Morgan head out of nowhere.
And it looks really great, dude. It looks awesome.
Yeah, thanks, man. So I told you about it. I was looking at it, I was like, I think at some point I'm going to go back and repaint Arthur Morgan's face, because we were talking about my figures at some point, and you were bringing up Arthur, and I'm like, I really like that figure, but but the face still bothers me. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't as good as I could make it. I knew I could do better. Because we talked about it, I was like, now it's bothering me even more. I gotta paint a new head now. And so I did that over about like a day and a half of on and off work. And yeah, I mean, listen, man, I think Red Dead 2 is Tait, I'm about at the point where I'm ready to call Red Dead 2 my favorite game of all time.
Yeah, for us, for me it's up there for sure.
Yeah, I think I'm at the point now, though, where I'm just about ready to finally give it that title, because, I mean, I cannot think of a greater experience I've had in gaming. Dude, single player.
That is very fair. That is...
Yeah, so but what is unfair is how quickly Red Dead 2 withered away from the public eye. People got on, played through the single player the first month, and then that was it.
That's kind of the state... That's the state of single-player gaming, Ross, and that's why you see less and less story-based projects, single-player story-based projects. If this happened to Red Dead Redemption 2, it'll be
Oh my
even
god.
worse with Last of Us 2, Uncharted 5. If that ever happens, these will be forgotten franchises, because the only thing that's in the gaming media are the multiplayer games.
Yeah,
Borderlands
people don't
3,
talk about Last of Us, man, anymore.
no, dude, Borderlands 3 came out on Friday and it's already being overshadowed by Fortnite, Minecraft, and Rainbow Six Siege. It
Such a
came out
shame.
2 days ago. Borderlands 3, it's getting really great reviews. Gears 5 as well. That's getting really, decent reviews. But these games are just getting pushed aside right after they launch because they don't have that huge multiplayer focus.
Tate, I just hope that this is a phase for gaming
I really do as
and
well.
the industry, because I don't ever want to see the end of single player games.
See, so
But we'll see.
people like me can confide in Nintendo because when Nintendo releases a single player game, it's talked about for years. People are still talking about Breath
Right.
of the Wild, and that's
Mhm.
pushing 3 in the coming March. So, I mean, Ross, I really think you should get into Nintendo games, dude. You don't have to start at the beginning to play them because each story is brand new. You're dropped into a new world with new things to do. Awesome games. Absolutely great games. And they're not for little kids. I think that's one misconception that AAA, gaming kind of
Yeah, I mean,
pushes on Nintendo.
but I'm definitely gonna have to get a Switch for that, right?
Well, you can dude, honestly, if you get a Wii, you can buy like $2 games. Oh, no, you can't anymore. You'd have to buy a Wii U and buy $5 games.
Rip.
Yeah, no, they stopped doing the Wii online
Mm.
service. Yeah, it's a shame, dude, because I have a bunch of, I mean, there are a bunch of really fun games on the Wii.
Well,
But
hey, man.
anyway,
Um, yeah. So anyway, with that face, basically what I did was I just really overanalyzed. I pulled together a few other faces from Bricklink. That's always what I do, by the way. When I start painting faces, I go through the whole catalog of all minifig heads ever made, and I just look for whatever eyes and mouths and facial features I want to pull from. Throw those in the reference folder, and then just keep looking at all of them, and then just combine all the different inspiration to make the face I'm trying to do. That's part of the process when making a face. But yeah, I mean, basically, I posted a comparison. You can see it here in the shot. But the biggest change is the stubble, right? The stubble is not as square looking. I didn't use the dark gray for it this time. I used brown as the color for that. I obviously a big change too is also the cheekbones. The cheekbones are better and more prevalent. And I changed the mouth design a little bit. I changed the scars beneath the mouth so that they didn't just look like blood and instead actually looked like proper scars. I changed the little marks under the eyes. So they're not just bags, but they actually just kind of look a bit more natural. And it really came together. And to me, I had to do this because, like, as a creative and as an artist, you sometimes things like this will happen where you just feel a creative urge, a detour from whatever project you're working on, where you're like, this is so cool. I have to do this to satisfy my OCD really quick, and then you do it. And I've done this happens a few times for me. It happened with Arthur Morgan, and then it happened right after with Korg, because as soon as I did this, and actually I think I painted Korg before this. I was looking at the Chinese knockoff of Korg, right? From I forget which company. I've no idea. I totally forgot. And it's a good knockoff. They use Cull Obsidian's body as a base, Gladiator Hulk arm for the left arm. Not a bad knockoff by any means. It doesn't really look like Korg as far as the head shape is concerned, but it's a good knockoff. It's really well printed too. It's really interesting. But the problem was the face. Like you just said, Tate, before we even started, it looked like a fly. It looked like a bug of some kind.
yeah, dude,
So
those eyes stare deep into my soul, dude. Really uncomfortable.
yeah, man. And it was like, I want to be able to display this and not look at how weird that is every time. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to repaint this right now. And I did that in like literally a day, not even a couple of sessions. I painted over the face with my own sand blue and then just got my own eyes on there and just the structure of like the rock formation of the eyebrows on top and painted the mouth and then went over it with a black wash so that it blended with the rest of the figure. And yeah, man, I don't plan on making my own Korg. Like the reason I didn't make one in 2017 was because I didn't know he was going to be as good of a character as he actually wound up being. So I thought he was just going to kind of be a background character, and that's why I didn't make him for the initial showcase, and why I never made him after, because obviously then I had to go right into Infinity War, and then just the opportunity never happened. But I'm probably never going to make my own Korg. It's just I don't really see it happening. So this is, this was just kind of for me, to take that knockoff and have something serviceable to display next to my Ragnarok figures. But yeah, Ross, do you plan on Disney Plus, Marvel, and Star Wars figures? Yeah, no, I definitely plan on making figures for the majority of what is coming out on Disney Plus, Mega 24. But
Ross,
yeah, man,
dude, I wanted to talk to you. Might as well talk to you here because I was just reminded. I'm gonna make an IG-11 because all my little robots that I make. I'm gonna try to make one that's pretty minifigure scale. So,
man,
dude, if you could make a Mandalorian and I make the IG-11, dude, that'd be such a cool little picture, wouldn't that?
Dude, all you have to do is just throw it up in front of like a solid color background, and I can edit it or something. Hell yeah, man!
Dude, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. I did that with Dylan, the Moose Figs with my RDR figures. I actually took my Arthur and then like his Dutch and John and put it together. It wasn't the greatest edit, but it looked pretty cool. But yeah, so otherwise, Tate, there are rumors floating around, and honestly, I haven't really read into it, but apparently Deadline is reporting or mistakenly reporting that Robert Downey Jr. could have new scenes in 2020's Black Widow prequel film.
No.
I mean, Tate, I don't get it. Like, there are two big problems with this. Yes, it can work for the story, because obviously the movie takes place in 2016 or 17 or early 18, right? But the whole point of the story is that she's effing off from the Captain America, from the Team Cap squad, right? She's going back to Budapest. She's not with them, right? She's going off and doing her own thing for a while, and that's obviously during their while they're on the run from what happened in Civil War. She's supposed to be separated from the rest of the Avengers for this movie,
right?
And so I don't understand why Robert Downey Jr., like how Tony Stark can serve a role in this movie at all. And then on top of that, the biggest problem for me is
the emotional connection to Tony Stark's ending.
Right. And I posted about this on Instagram a little bit before we went live here. A huge part of me, like, I would be okay if Tony cameoed and like for a quick scene, but part of me always wants his final scenes in Endgame to always be the final scenes for Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man. Not just his death scene, but the last time we get to see him on screen as Iron Man. To always leave that there as like a monument, a big mark in cinema history. Like that was the moment where that all finally came to an end. Not like then he went on to do more cameos and all and another place before Endgame. It's like, come on, man. There's something about that to me that really rubs me the wrong way about having RDJ show up in more media. Now, I mean, listen, obviously there are plenty of franchises that did, with their prequels, like, Palpatine and Vader. I mean, there have been plenty of big important characters who have died and then shown up later. But to me, it's just because Robert Downey Jr. was doing this for so long and it's such a legacy and he brought the character from start to finish since 2008. It's like, you really don't need anything else. No, you don't need cameos.
We have our arc. The only thing I'd like to see is an Elseworld story where he comes back and plays Tony Stark to fight against the real Mandalorian, because that is the only main Iron Man villain he hasn't, like the only important Iron Man villain he hasn't fought, and that's such a shame. We have Ironmonger, we have Ultron. Real big shame. No,
and they're doing the Mandarin and Shang-Chi. I mean, that opportunity passed. So it's like there's no reason.
There's no place to insert Tony Stark in the MCU moving forward.
Yeah, man. I mean, the more we talk about it, it's like, listen, he doesn't serve a function in the MCU at this point. Like,
okay, guys, the Thematic Purpose podcast. He has served his thematic purpose. His arc is done.
Yeah, man, the futurist made it to the future and sacrificed himself to save it.
Exactly.
Right? It's like, I don't want any shallow, quick cameos of Tony in 2016
For cash
or
grab.
17. I don't need that. So I hope there's no weight to these reports. I really do. But it's deadline, so we'll see. I hope not. I really want his final sequences in Endgame to be his last. Period. Um. Now, as for other things that have been announced with the MCU, we also have been getting reports. And I didn't read too far into this either. But Haley Steinfeld could wind up being Kate Bishop in the Hawkeye series.
I don't know who she is. Woohoo! What's
Yeah,
she
man, I'm really
getting?
not. Well, for one, she was the lead in the new Bumblebee movie, and she's in a lot of other stuff.
What's
She's a
up?
pretty highly acclaimed actress, man, and she's great. I mean, she is 100% capable of playing the role, and honestly, I think it's perfect. I mean, like I know a lot of people would have preferred an Asian actress, even though Kate Bishop traditionally is not Asian. Um,
Why
and
is
I
that,
would
Ross? Where did that come from? Were people just
that's because
calling
that
for that?
no, yeah, there was a major, massive controversy about this when it was first reported. And listen,
Really?
man, yeah, I mean, I don't think this is like a Scarlett Johansson whitewashing situation. So I think I because Kate Bishop isn't necessarily Asian in the comics, I think this is really great, and I think Haley Steinfeld would be fantastic for this. I hope that this works out
Yeah.
because now that this has been put on the table, I'm like, oh man, now I can't think of anybody else who could do better, right? Like because I honestly I couldn't really think of anybody who could really play Kate Bishop, and it's like the second I heard Haley Steinfeld, I was like, that's actually perfect. Um, but yeah, and I mean, some people like Omega is even bringing up here. She was Gwen in the Spider Verse film,
Yeah.
and it's like I don't really think that interferes at all because I mean, that's a separate universe. I heard people genuinely trying to bring up like that's a problem, and it's like
Why is that?
no,
What? Why?
no, yeah, it's
I
like no,
really
that's a
think,
separate universe. We're not doing the multiverse with the animated Spider Verse movie, so
even
this is really not a
so,
big deal.
even so, I really think that in cinematic universes you can have multiple actors. I mean the same actor playing multiple characters. I really do.
Yeah.
I mean, it does not bother me at all. If
Um,
if if Chris Evans came back and started playing a new actor, then that's a little jarring. But if you take a side character, or even something in Spider Verse, an ensemble cast character,
mhm.
even if it was in the MCU, I wouldn't mind.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind if like in the far in the future, if in the MCU, like eventually, like that would be kind of interesting. But
Chris Evans Firestorm. That's what I want to see in the
oh
MCU.
god,
That'd be
Firestorm.
so
Yeah, you
good.
mean Johnny Storm?
Johnny
Yeah,
Storm
man.
Firestorm, right.
Human Torch,
Human
Firestorm,
Torch
same guy, same
Firestorm.
guy.
Dude, Ronnie Raymond, who
Um,
is he? I don't know.
uh,
I'm
yeah, I don't think.
okay. For context, guys, I am very tired.
Yeah,
But
this is
anyway,
probably going to be a really short episode. Um,
yeah.
but Tate, something that kind of I don't know if it pissed me off, but I just kind of shrugged off the new announcement of the Suicide Squad cast.
Oh, it's a joke. It's kind of a joke just because of the A. Sean Gunn, B. Taika Waititi, and C. The Suicide Squad.
I mean, I have gone on and on railing about the DCEU. I don't want to sound redundant at this point, but listen, man, the fact of the matter is they're doing a Suicide Squad 2, a sequel, and they're calling it The Suicide Squad. If they don't play that off as a joke and they mean that seriously, like that, I, like if they think they're actually going to attempt a reboot here, a soft reboot of the Suicide Squad film from 2016, literally only like what 4 years later?
A few people
No.
are going to understand that, and the rest is going to think it's a sequel. The issue here that I find is that if they keep rebooting franchises, reintroducing franchises,
Like
then
what if they announce like Justice League 2 coming next year called The Justice League?
Not even Justice League 2, but they do the Justice League and it's another reset.
I can't, dude. With the DCEU,
Yeah,
I'm done.
No, it's so strange. Ross, we were talking about this yesterday. I really think if they want to be successful moving forward, they need to do solo movie, standalone movie. They need to do trilogies if need be. So like Wonder Woman can be a trilogy, but none of this cinematic universe stuff. They obviously can't do it. They're not up to the task.
Tate, I'm just exhausted. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of getting hyped up for DCEU movies when half the time they blow it. I mean, 2016 Suicide Squad, I really feel like they nailed it with the bulk of the characters, but the surrounding movie and the story, if you could even call it that, was trash.
Dude, the characters were good.
It was bad. I mean, dude, I wouldn't count. I think Margot Robbie is the definitive Harley Quinn, and nobody should play that role. Nobody else should play that role.
Yeah.
Other than her, I don't think there's another actress who can do better than Margot Robbie. And that, and the same can be said for I think Will Smith did great as Deadshot, Jai Courtney as Boomerang. I thought the guy who played El Diablo was great. I mean, the guy who played Killer Croc was great. I thought Joel Kinnaman didn't really do a lot as Rick Flag, but he did the job. I mean, Viola Davis is a great Amanda Waller. So it's just like all the characters were there, but the rest was not. And so, looking at this now, the Suicide Squad, it's like I appreciate that at least they've got Margot Robbie back. They've got Viola Davis, they've got Jai Courtney. But
imagine they mix up the characters though, and like now Jai Courtney's playing Slipknot and Margot Robbie's playing this, and that would just be so funny to me. I mean, that just that idea. It's not happening, but imagine they just come out and like, oh yeah, this guy's playing this. Jai Courtney's playing Rick Flag.
Like you said, this just feels like a big James Gunn Suicide Squad Marvel crossover. Oh, yeah. Especially when you've got Sean Gunn, his brother, announced on the cast. Oh my God, Tate! We have talked about Sean Gunn. Great guy, incredibly talented guy. Should never have been given that much screen time as Kraglin in Guardians 2. I mean, he was so intrusive that they had to edit him out of the final shot of Endgame because he just doesn't belong there. He was right behind Star-Lord for the final shot. Not Rocket, I mean, it's like, it was ridiculous. There's too much Kraglin, and Sean Gunn is incredibly talented, especially with motion capture. The guy is great. But for the love of God, we've got our lead cast, and there's no room for Kraglin. I hope that he has made sufficient room for him in the Suicide Squad, and that he's not just there because he's James Gunn's brother. It's like he's just putting his brother in everything, and it's whether it serves the story or not. And I just don't think that's okay. I mean, it's like people, there needs to be some self-control there. It's like if you're handed that much creative freedom, you shouldn't just keep putting your brother in everything. It's weird.
It is.
And, and then he brought over a couple of other friends like Taika Waititi and Michael Rooker, of course. Michael Rooker, he's Yondu.
He's going to be great.
Yeah, they're both going to be great. I have no doubt of that. But it's like, and, another thing, like James Gunn, if there's anyone who can do this right, it's him. So it's not that I think this movie is necessarily going to be bad, Tate. I just don't care. I'm not getting excited for it. I'll be there to see it, but I'm not getting baited again. I'm not, fooled me twice, right? Not again. I mean, they even got Pete Davidson thrown in here. This movie just seems like...
Dude, John Cena,
oh, yeah.
King Shark, anyone?
Dude, John Cena was good in Bumblebee.
I still have not seen it, dude.
You should. I think you'd like it.
I probably would. I'd probably appreciate it for what it is.
And they even got Nathan Fillion for this, man. Nathan Fillion is the best.
Speaking of which, you want to talk about Halo 5 for a hot second?
Oh, and also Idris Elba. Oh, my God. Dude, I think I've already talked about Halo 5 in the podcast at least once. And I don't think any one of the people watching have played Halo 5.
But I have.
But yeah, I finished running. We finally finished going through all the Halo games. Tate has officially played every Halo campaign.
And I've played Halo Reach's campaign like 10 times. So that makes up for it. Guys, Halo 5 is a trash game. It's not good. It's not fun. It is not enjoyable. Characters are thrown at you. It's like it's imagine Suicide Squad that 2016 when that one came out, right? Imagine how much worse that movie would have been if none of the characters had personalities or backstories that were given to us. Dude, I can't even picture that, dude.
Listen, I don't want to like go, listen. I always kind of figured, okay, maybe I was being a little too hard on Halo 5. Maybe there are some things that are good. Oh my god, playing through it again. Jesus.
It's rough.
That wasn't easy to play through, Tate. I mean, there were some nice set pieces, there was some decent gameplay moments, but for the most part, Halo 5 is a major identity crisis. It is a catastrophe of a campaign. I mean, the whole campaign is an insult to the series, and the multiplayer shouldn't even be referred to as a Halo multiplayer anymore. It is just, oh my god! And because you had so many of the same people that worked on Halo 5, Halo Infinite, really not expecting much from Halo Infinite until we actually get to the game, because that was also a big part of Halo 5. Why I hated it, because the marketing campaign wound up being a total lie, and not a single thing that happened and any of the story beats we were led to believe would come to fruition in the campaign actually happened. I mean, it was all just forced, shallow, poorly thought out garbage. I mean, the most shallow campaign I've ever played. Halo 5's campaign is more shallow than Call of Duty campaigns, and some of those get really bad. I really do. I could rant about Halo 5 for a long time. I really don't want to, though. Especially because nobody here has played it, I'm sure. But just, Halo 5 is an aberration. That's what it is. I could debate anyone about it. There is no saving grace to that campaign at all whatsoever. You
know
make
what?
a case for the multiplayer, but no.
The campaign, there's one cool part, and that's seeing Heelys beat the crap out of Storm Cubbies. That's cool. That was cool. Seeing the capital city of St. Helios, dude. Oh, that was cool. But yeah, the gameplay's bad, the story's bad, the characters are bad, except for the Arbiter, who's only in it for 3 seconds. So how can he be bad?
Handled badly.
Handled badly, yes. But yeah. Ross, after seeing that Rotten Tomato comment, dude, I'm on Rotten Tomatoes reading the reviews, and I am fuming.
Why?
My ears are spitting out smoke and flames because these people claim to understand cinema and call this movie video game nerds and comic book nerds revenge on the movie medium. Give me a break, you pretentious pieces of shit. Saying this is a nerd's revenge on cinema? Because they're saying that this movie is comic book fans injecting themselves head forward into the movie sphere, and they're saying it comes off as ingenuine and as a comic book movie that should never have been made. And dude, these are the advertised reviews. There are more advertised reviews than negative.
Listen, man.
Dude, is
speaking of aberrations? Speaking of aberrations, yeah, it is actually. So that works out, dude. Pretentious critics can often be aberrations.
They drive me through the roof.
Listen, man. I think the Joker is going to be a masterpiece of cinema. It really sounds like it's going to shape up to be something special. So far, my doubts have really started to recede following that Venice Film Festival premiere, and so I'm looking forward to this movie, and I'm looking forward to making a quick figure for it because I'm gonna go full film. Yeah.
Film that right now.
Do it, Tate.
When you sit down to watch a movie, you're sitting down to fulfill a need of enjoyment, to fill a void in that day, in that moment, The void that says, fill me with joy and entertainment. When you go into a movie, at least when I go into a movie, I mentally prepare myself for the genre and the style of movie that I am about to view. When I went into John Wick, I said, poo poo pee pee, this is going to be a shooty boy, and I had a good time. I had fun, because what was John Wick 3? It was a shooty movie, and that's okay.
It was a poo poo pee pee movie.
It was a poo poo pee pee, it was good. When I went into Spider-Verse, I expected a stylistic, really intrinsically unique movie. And I was not disappointed. And because I was in that headspace, I enjoyed it. These reviewers on Rotten Tomatoes do not understand that film has variation. They judge every film as if every film is The Godfather. They expect...
Yeah, they try to
Martin
fit it into their own little format.
Exactly.
Their own little structure.
They try to act like every film is Scorsese, that every film is cinematically gorgeous, that every film is Birdman with its stylism and its existentialism and its nihilism.
I have to rewatch Birdman. Because when I did many years ago, I didn't enjoy it and I didn't get it.
You might enjoy it now more so.
I'd have to try it again because I did not get it.
Yeah, but anyway, they take these movies that they
You
like.
hated Spider-Verse, Cole! Leave! It's alright.
That is the one unpopular opinion that Ross and I cannot appreciate, because that movie, that's the best Spider-Man movie in my opinion. Ross, I feel like I mean, I'm sure you feel.
No, Spider-Verse is the greatest Spider-Man movie of all time. I almost feel like it's no contest. It's all. I mean, it all depends on personal bias, of course, and
right.
I guess I'm biased to some extent. But I mean, I even grew up with the Raimi films and have seen every Spider-Man film as they've come out, and yeah, no, Spider-Verse takes it for me, 100%. Yeah. No contest.
But Cole, if you didn't enjoy it, dude, that's you. That's you. that's all for you. Guys,
I think you should give it another shot, man.
Please don't berate him in the comments. Please don't do that. That's mean. No,
Spider-Verse is overrated. Lego Pete, not you. Not you too.
All right, Lego Pete. All right, settle down.
But yeah.
But anyway, they judge every movie on a single scale. Is this Citizen Kane? If it's a superhero movie, is this Dark Knight? And you know what also is involved, and specifically Rotten Tomatoes? Money.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Who's giving us money?
It's corrupt. Rotten Tomatoes, I think, is a garbage platform.
Which studio is giving us more money? Disney? Or Warner Brothers? Or Sony?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Sony loaded them up with money for Far From Home and Spider-Verse. Loaded them. Mm-hmm. Because Disney was pulling through there as well. So they judge movies based upon how good they are compared to Citizen Kane, which is an outdated movie. It's something to be appreciated, but not something to base your entire movie viewing perspective on.
Yeah.
They're basing it B. Did I say 1 or A? I don't know. I usually say ABC, so I'm gonna say B, even if I said 1. B, they're looking at the studio that made the movie, applying their personal biases there, and then C, they're saying, is this a character that comes from an outsourced piece of media? That could be a comic book, a game, a book, something like that. With the Joker, seeing these reviews, seeing people slam it because it's a comic book character, saying that this is an attempt of one industry to invade another, to disguise itself in Trojan horse, to manipulate its audience in order to make headway, that has nothing to do with the quality of the film whatsoever. The same reviewer that I'm referencing here says that this is a movie that holds Scorsese values because Todd Phillips looked at the King of Comedy, looked at Taxi Driver, and applies those themes that he learned from viewing those movies in this. I really dislike mass reviewing websites like Rotten Tomatoes, like Metacritic, like IMDb, although I've always trusted IMDb more.
I hope Rotten Tomatoes doesn't survive the next generation.
Dude, okay, IMDb is superior in every way because A, they pay their reviewers. They pay their reviewers a lot of money to stay fair. IMDb is recognized by the Oscar committee, by the SAG community. I think Rotten Tomatoes is just recognized by the company, by the production companies,
By the conglomerates,
by the conglomerates. Exactly.
Listen, man. It's all so corrupt.
It's also corrupt. Fellas, if you want to know if a movie's good, look at the private reviewers. I think our reviews are pretty fair in terms of trying to be objective. And we also we say when a movie opinion is subjective. Oh, I've said that plenty of times with Far From Home that I just simply flat out enjoyed it for no reason. But look at the smaller sources. Look at something even What Culture can be hard because that's a little bit bigger. You know, those big YouTube channels with 1 million subscribers, Ross. Even those are a little bit dodgy sometimes because strings are pulled in the backgrounds. But
Sure.
guys, just trust the smaller companies because if Rotten Tomatoes didn't exist, Black Panther wouldn't have won an Oscar. Captain Marvel probably wouldn't have hit $1 billion. There are a lot of behind the scenes manipulation that goes into the public view of movies. Go into Joker expecting to be entertained because that's what you should do with any movie. But if you're somebody like me, somebody who appreciates film this sounds super pretentious and I'm sorry, but to a higher degree, then go in expecting a Scorsese movie that explores the psyche of a torn and shattered man.
Yeah, and again, you also need to leave your from the source material and the comics at the door. Anything you think should be present, anything from DC that you think should be in the movie, just forget about it. Leave it at the door.
Honestly, Ross, I would be inclined to believe that Todd Phillips wrote this movie and then put
DC elements in there as
DC
Easter
elements
eggs.
in it as not only Easter eggs but as a supplementative thing after the fact. He already had this movie in mind. I really truly believe that because this is I think they did that because of money. You know what I mean? I think Warner Brothers said, "Hey, put a DC comic skin on this because of money because this fits well enough." Because Ross, I'm really not expecting a Joker movie in this. I'm expecting a stylized modern take on the shattered man psyche of the man who wants one thing more than anything, something that we see in America today with people just wanting to be recognized. Yeah.
You know, dude, one thing I just noticed, Joker comes out on Force Friday.
Oh, cool.
I hope there are some screenings like the third or like, oh man, I'm going to be exhausted when I watch this movie because I will have got to have gotten up so early to go to the stores.
Oh, jeez.
Oh no. I'd probably honestly just see it on like the 5th or something of October instead, like the day after.
Wow.
We'll see. I hope
Fake
it doesn't
film
come to
goer.
that.
I'm just kidding.
No,
dude. Honestly, I'll probably watch this movie, and I never watch a movie twice in cinema specifically. I never spend $20 to watch a movie, but I might in this case.
Oh, dude, yeah, I'm definitely gonna try to go for an optimal film experience and stay the hell away from 3D if it's an option.
Oh, dude, I used to really appreciate 3D, and then
you got to be really selective about which movies you go watch 3D in, man, because they 3D ruins 8 out of 10 movies.
I would agree. I mean, I would really agree. Washing out the colors, making it blurry and hard to watch.
And not even just that, dude. It darkens the screen considerably. It's awful.
I saw Endgame in 3D, and that was awesome because of the final battle.
Seeing Aladdin in 3D genuinely subtracted from my sister and I's experience. Because that movie's so bright all the time. It was bad.
Yeah.
Aladdin is very bad in 3D. But
I thought you were gonna say Aladdin is very bad, and I was like, "Ooh, that's a change of heart."
no. Yeah, dude. So anyway, another big thing, and this is pretty much just gonna be the rest of the podcast, dude. The Boys came out like when? Like a month ago on Amazon Prime?
Do like July 20 something. So we're really late
July?
to this party.
Yeah, we are very late to this party. I remember seeing a trailer briefly, like a teaser or something. I didn't know it was for The Boys or what The Boys even was, and I saw some promo material and I thought that looks cool. I'll have to watch that at some point. Didn't rush into it.
My story's kind of funny because I saw this on a Walk Culture list. They were like, because I like the Walk Culture comic list because I'm a huge comic book nerd and I get angry and type in the comment section when they get something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I sound like such a dickhead when I said that. That was a joke. I'm not that sad. But anyway, I'm looking at a video. It's top 10 plot twists in comics. And then I see number 7, The Boys comic. I'm not going to spoil the plot twist, not yet, because we're not talking spoilers. But anyway, I see it, and I was like, oh, cool, yeah. Like, I read The Boys. I started reading The Boys 2 years ago. I got through the comic series. Great series, dude. It's like The Watchmen. It's a satirical and poignant view of this really unique superhero idea that we will talk about. And then I just see that The Boys was on Netflix because they not Netflix, Amazon, because they had a little section, a little quip about it that I'm not going to say because it's spoiler. But that was really, really interesting to see. So I texted Ross that day, hey dude, have you heard of The Boys? And he's like, was it you that talked about The Boys? Because we thought about it at the exact same time.
Yeah, and then I was just like, yeah, I might as well start watching it.
Right. Yeah,
and
so he did, and then I did, and yeah.
Yeah, you just watched it last night.
Yeah, I have really, really bad insomnia that kind of...
Tate's running on no sleep right now.
Yeah, no, I have insomnia that sets itself in the worst of time.
I watched it about a week ago, like a few days ago, over the course of 3 days. And oh my god, this series, these first 8 episodes of season 1, this was a different experience for me. This was a new and exciting experience for me. And this show is not for everybody, by the way.
No,
this is not for everybody.
This show is extremely graphic, extremely mature.
It's not only that it's extremely graphic and extremely mature, it's extremely dark as a narrative.
Well, yeah.
At various points. And
this is not a superhero show, not in the slightest.
And no spoilers, by the way. Yeah, I wanted to get to this really quick. Yeah, so Awesome Gamer, we are not doing spoilers right now. We will definitely be putting up a warning. And we will try to make that clear. I didn't actually make a spoilers slide, by the way. I forgot about that. If you can do that while we're talking so we can put that up when we do get to spoilers. We are not going to talk about spoilers without giving you guys a warning and considerable time to bail. So, no spoilers. This series, and again, this is at this point, it depends on what you define as spoilers, because I know a lot of people have been graying that line and blurring that line, rather, and kind of muddying the water. I'm just going to be talking very generally, and just kind of basically it'd be like reading a synopsis, right? You're not going to really be spoiled by listening to what we'll be saying here.
We're going to be as fair as possible.
But if you want to, for whatever reason, go in totally blind, well then, yeah, that's on you.
Which is kind of hard.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's a difficult thing to do.
So I almost went in totally blind. I didn't know anything about The Boys. I was like, okay, I don't know anything about this. Didn't even know it was a comic series. Didn't know anything. I just saw that it was Amazon Prime's new series. It looked really interesting. The promos looked interesting. I read the synopsis and I clicked play. And to me, that is almost the best way to watch things.
That's the best way to do anything. Time. Yeah, no, I totally think so. Just taking a chance on something random that you find, shoot.
And I was so spectacularly surprised by the following 8 episodes that I would watch over the course of 3 days. What a first season. This was just incredible.
They set up the show perfectly. I'm so glad. Sorry to cut you off, Ross.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that they strayed from the comic book because they stray a lot. And it makes this such an enjoyable first season.
They stray from the comics, but like not just for the sake of doing it, but because it's a lot of like based on what I read about the comics after, the show does a lot of things better.
Oh, dude, comics suck. I love comics, but they suck. They're super hard to get into. That's one of the biggest things about comics. They're super hard to get into. If you don't already know about comics and aren't already a fan of it, then you can't just jump into something like The Boys comic and feel fulfilled. It is a huge departure and a satirical view of specifically comics, and this is a satirical view of specifically superhero movies, which is really appreciated, because if they just adapted the comic one-to-one, it wouldn't have made any sense, because there are direct things stated in the comics and direct things that happen in the comic that directly satire comics. I mean, I'm gonna just say this over and over again. If this did that, it would feel completely unnatural and disjointed. None of the things would make sense. None of the jokes would hit. But because they're making fun of superhero movies, whole other game.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's not like, you know, they do it in like an insulting way. It's just a different perspective. I mean, it is just like, obviously the characters are directly inspired by the Justice League.
Yeah.
And it's just the idea of, okay, to me, the way I saw it, it was taking like the Super Friends version of the Justice League, right? The classic Justice League in the tights, in the tight costumes, in the goofy costumes, but just as powerful. And what would goofy but very real heroes be like? Like, you know, like that, what would they be like in the real modern world? And it's very realistic. They would be a part of some big corporate media, you know, conglomerate. They would be trying to work their way into various branches of government or whatever. They would be controlling the media. They would be controlling entertainment. They would be corrupt. And in this case, absolute monsters behind closed doors. And I just think that's really, it was just so fresh for me. And you can pretty much get that, by the way, from a synopsis. That's really not spoilers at all.
No.
No.
That's the
incredible
concept of the show.
And to me, it was so unique because I really haven't exposed myself to a lot of other media that kind of offers such a drastically different perspective on the superhero genre. Of course, you know, a lot of people are quick to point out that this is not an original idea, but it was for me because I never really looked into comics or any other form of media that does this same thing. And it's so well adapted on you know, for live action this first time that it was just such a unique experience watching this first season.
Yeah, I want to say really quick, kind of a tangent, kind of not. There's a lot more to comics than DC and Marvel. A lot more. So many more. There's a lot more to comics than Dark Horse comics as well, because that's another one people like to bring up. Oh, I love Dark Horse comics. Guys, the comic medium is incredible. There are so many different comic books, so many things that don't even touch superheroes, so many different perspectives that you get. The mainline continuities, which, you know, are the, you know, DC and Marvel books that come out, they're very tame, aside from perhaps Batman and DC. But you have Preacher, you have The Boys, you have Spawn, you have Hellboy. These comic books that explore less family-friendly and less, you know, accepted ideals. And these kind of comics are very overshadowed, and that's such a shame. This is a great starting point if you ever want to see what comics are to people like me who explore more than DC and Marvel. Start with this show. If you like this, I really recommend going and reading the books.
Well, I wouldn't recommend reading the comics first. Honestly.
No. Watch the show first and see if you like it.
Yeah, I would watch the show first and even try to dodge spoilers about the comics and what happens after.
Yeah,
Because
there's a big thing, like
yeah,
a huge moment.
we won't talk about it right now, but yeah, I mean, like, try to avoid the comics as much as possible, because I feel like the comics should, because the show is handling so many things better than the comics.
Yeah.
The comics are, even though they were first, are almost, should, I feel like, become an afterthought at this point, as harsh as that sounds.
So I'll say this. This is kind of dancing. This is more of the concept of this show. You have this dynamic between the protagonists and the antagonists that in the show is developed from the very beginning. From the second the show starts, you have that dynamic forming. In the comic, you have the protagonist you have the antagonists versus the villains, and then the protagonists come in. Starting the show off with the clear protagonist and the clear antagonist, not clear in the beginning, but starting out by developing those two sides, perfect. That's how the comic should have been done. And I'll say this in the spoiler section. I'm going to go over the first issue of The Boys, the very first issue, because I kind of want to compare episode 1 to the first issue, because episode 1 is so much better in my opinion. But like I said, I'll save that for the spoiler section.
Do you want to start talking spoilers?
Sure. I got to pull up the slide here.
Yeah, so if you have not seen The Boys, if you plan on watching The Boys soon, then this would unfortunately be the time to click off, because Tait and I are going to go all in on spoilers. This is going to be your warning. And so as soon as Tait gets that slide up to make this very clear, we will do I guess we can do it like a 5-second countdown. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, dude.
All right.
Okay, it's back. It just disappeared and now it's back. That was strange.
Okay.
5-second countdown already.
Yeah, and we'll be back next week if you still want to watch the. Thank you for joining in. But here we go.
5, 4, 3, 2. I don't really want to spoil the end right off the bat like I normally do with this kind of stuff.
Yeah. So yes, but now that we're in spoilers,
and yeah,
there's a lot to cover. Oh my god.
So I'm gonna start off. Let's talk about episode 1. And actually, before we talk about episode 1, I'm going to talk about comic 1. In episode 1 of the show, the main protagonist, Huey, his girlfriend gets killed by one of the supers. And quote-unquote collateral damage. Now, collateral damage is really important in the comic, and I feel like it makes less sense here in the show. In the comic, what happens is Huey's girlfriend dies because the superhero cannot fight off the supervillain. The supervillain ends up crushing her against a wall. Really, this is why I don't recommend this to first-time comic readers, because you literally see a woman get crushed up against a wall.
Jeez.
It's gnarly. And
I hear the comics are a lot more gnarly, and they really had to back for this.
And they toned it. They did more than enough to get the point across. But but just that alone, you have a third party introduced in the comics that are not part of the show, and not until watching the show did I go back and say, "Wow, I really dislike the inclusion of the supervillains." It does, though. I will say the comics including the supervillains, kind of, for the first issue at least, and for the first few issues, makes makes the Seven look like the main protagonists. And Huey just looks like a character in their story.
That's got to be one of the biggest things that I love about this series and these characters is just the variety.
Yeah.
There is not a single character in this show that's black and white. Might be a bold statement, but I really can't think of anyone off the top of my head. Maybe a couple. But for the most part, these characters are all really, really well layered.
And they all have a stereotype that they play off extremely, extremely well.
Yeah.
I'll say that as well.
Dude, I mean, like, just that opening scene when everything seems fine with Huey, and then she's just suddenly gone when they're holding hands.
God.
And how quick that turns. into something so horrendous and graphic. It's like, oh my god. So this is what this show is going to be. That's when it really clicked for me.
Right.
That this is what this show is going to explore.
Yeah, this
what
is
would
no
it be like
show.
if the Justice League were actually real and not just all really perfect, great people? But what if they were real and corrupt?
Right.
And yeah, that, you know, and this show really explores that, all those thoughts of, you know, what if the Flash just accidentally hit someone? What if Superman just decided, hey, I'm going to go up and shoot a plane down? You know, like, it's like this show explores all those really scary things.
Right.
And I think that was really refreshing, and because it's all handled really well.
Right. Exactly.
When they do those big major scenes, they pour a lot of money into them. And they really drive the point across.
The show looks great.
Oh my god!
All the translucent scenes look movie quality.
It was stunning.
Yeah, dude.
It was stunning. You can tell they had Amazon on their side, because holy shit.
Now I will say most of the costumes look goofy. Like, I think A-Train looks like a goof.
But I feel like that's the point, man.
Yeah. No, I just feel like, dude, his shoulder pads bug me so much. Look at A-Train's shoulder pads.
The plasticky elements on A-Train's shoulder, on his armor, like it did. I did notice that, but and
then Black Noir as well, because he's so badass looking in the comic. He just looks like he's
so
wearing.
Without really talking about Black Noir too much, what did you think of him?
He was so underutilized.
Do you think so? Do you think they could still go in the direction we're thinking about?
Well, this is a spoiler section, so I'm not going to feel bad about saying this.
No, because people haven't read the comic, dude, and that can still be a big spoiler for people.
But Ross, let me just say, you know, the baby being born.
Oh, at the end,
mm-hmm.
Or what? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's going to tie in. I think his son's going to tie into Black Noir.
We'll see, man. But yeah. I just don't know that I want that twist of seeing him, but he was cool in the show, and I really liked his suit, by the way. That was cool.
Yeah, so Black Noir is completely underutilized in this show.
And just played for laughs for pretty much all but one scene.
Right, the piano scene. You're kind of, you know...
No, even the piano scene was played for laughs. I was thinking the one where he fights Kimiko.
Oh, right, yeah. That's the only
scene. That is like the only serious scene with Black Noir.
I'm sorry, I thought you said he was only played for laughs in one scene, and I was like, what?
No. All the scenes except for that one.
All the scenes, yeah, exactly. I feel like he was very underutilized. I feel like the Deep was very overutilized.
I wouldn't go that far, but he definitely had a bit more screen time than he needed.
Yeah, no, oh gosh, that whole Ohio situation. Dude,
they really just kind of ripped that Band-Aid off of that unsettling feeling the Seven was giving you.
Oh, I mean, absolutely, yeah. Episode 2 full force.
It was all so packaged and so perfect. You were like, "There's something wrong. This is not right." And the second Starlight is in there alone with the Deep, I mean, the guy just pulls his pants down, and I was like, "Okay." I was like, all right.
And then in that same episode, 2 minutes later, you see the male actor who plays Translucent. You see him in full nudity.
There is a lot of nudity in this show, man. Oh my god.
Yeah, dude, it hits you over the head with it. But episode 2, I think, really, and the show kind of blended together for me because I watched it all at once. But the episode 2 really just confirmed, the whole protagonist-antagonist situation. I really like that they jumped right into it, but a part of me loves the comic for keeping it ambiguous for a little while.
Do they keep it ambiguous longer in the comics?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I mean, dude, it's 30 minutes in when you start learning that these people aren't who they claim to be. And in the comics, because, comics is a lot shorter format, but it's like, these are the people that protect the land, and then you have kind of that idea going forward. And then all of a sudden you meet Billy the Butcher, and you're like, maybe this is an issue. But because of the fact that a villain technically killed Robin, technically killed Huey's girlfriend in the comic book, makes it easier to swallow.
There were it took me a little bit longer to get attached to Huey. There were moments where I was starting to question his casting. but I got over that probably at like episode 3.
Dude, no, his evolution is great in the
Yeah,
show.
no,
When he started,
he's fantastic.
like episodes
He's
1
fantastic.
and 2, episodes 1 and 2, just being a shell of a man. I love
Yeah.
that, and then seeing him complete 180 in episode 3, and
how like it just all felt very real for what would happen in a situation.
Each date with Starlight becoming more and more comfortable.
Yeah,
I mean, I loved that, dude. I thought that was awesome.
man, he was giving off red flags too. I mean, like I was surprised she didn't pick up on any of that.
Right,
because he always had a quick-witted response to diffuse it.
Well, later on.
Yeah, like
I really want them to reveal something. You know, I want them to reveal something along the lines of he's a super, but he doesn't know it, because I like it.
I will say, like the scene, the scene where he and Annie meet was kind of out of nowhere.
I think
like he's freaking out about infiltrating the 7 in that massive building, you know, the Vought building, and there's just that scene out of nowhere. I was like, okay. I was like, we're doing this. I was like, I'm like, Huey was just panicking in the last scene. Now we're just on a park bench meeting Annie. Okay. I think the placement could have been better.
Yeah, no, I think for me that's a gripe more than anything.
Yeah, for sure. I don't care. I really don't.
Yeah.
It didn't bother me that much. I just noticed it.
This is a very disjointed conversation, dude. We're kind of just talking about random order, but that's how this works.
I think that's fine, dude. I really don't care.
I agree with you. I think that's how
this
should. I think that's how this should be. I mean, there are so many great elements. I'm just picking my brain. You know, picking through my brain, finding.
So would you agree that he could play a young Michael Shannon?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I swear, I don't know why he reminds me of Michael Shannon.
No, dude, it's like those face wrinkles, like those.
And the eyes, and the mouth, his mouth too.
Yeah, his jaw as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you don't know Kate Mara, dude, but the actress who plays Starlight, she's like a clone of Kate Mara. It's weird. You'd have to watch some of the material. You'd have to like watch House of Cards and some of the stuff Kate Mara's been in to really get a sense of it. But whoa. Like, you'd have to watch videos. Photos won't do it. But I'm
looking up. So her name's Kate Mara.
Yeah, and but so that was jarring because she is.
Oh God. Yeah, she looks a lot like her, dude.
She looks and sounds exactly like Kate Mara. She's like an exact copy of.
Oh my God! I'm sending you a picture of her with blonde hair. Kate Mara with blonde hair. Look at this, dude.
It's weird, but yeah, man. No, I mean the actress who played Starlight, she was fantastic. And for me, this really, like you said early on, kind of satisfied the Watchmen itch I've had since watching Zack Snyder's film. Because I just, I'm looking forward to the Watchmen series a lot coming from HBO, but this just has so many Watchmen vibes to it because they're all powerful, the 7, these super beings, that it really kind of scratched that itch for me.
Yeah, so with Watchmen...
But they're not as corrupt, the Watchmen. They are, not all of them.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the Watchmen... I don't want to say one does this better than the other. I'm not making comparisons. I'm just saying, like, yeah, right.
Are similar. Yeah.
The Watchmen, for me, feels a lot less impactful because it's supers versus supers.
Right.
As opposed to extremely crafty, which I think what's his name should be an intellectual super. I think that Huey should be an intellectual super because they kind of alluded to that in the comics a little bit. I think that would be really nice to just hear that flat out. But anyway, having humans versus these gods is such a great perspective to see.
I loved that in the first couple of episodes after they captured Translucent.
And then it gets even better.
I mean, it felt so real because it's like, first of all, they think they actually killed him in the video store, but then he's still alive. And they did such a great job of capturing that desperation. Like, fuck. Yeah. You have a fucking, like, I just started cursing.
Hey, man, it's all right. It's all right.
I lost it, guys. I lost it.
We're not monetized on this channel anyway.
I held on for. I mean, we're talking about an R-rated show, so I guess I just. But it captures that sense of desperation where you're just like, oh man, you've got a powerful world figure, a powerful super being in your trunk, and he has a tracker in him. Yeah. And the supers are coming. Like the 7 will eventually notice, and they will come. and Homelander is an all-powerful being who cannot be defeated. I mean, and so when Homelander does actually start to look for him himself, and Homelander just starts flying around the area, and they're just like sitting in there looking like serial killers, you're like, oh man, they're burned. Like, he's gonna see them and they're done. They really did a good job, and the actors too, of just capturing that desperation of what people in this situation would actually be like, what it would be like if Superman was flying around looking for you. And then because Billy has had experience like already tracking down Homelander, he knows Homelander can't see through. It wasn't lead that they called it this time,
zinc.
but another metal, zinc. He can't. So they conveniently had a case made of zinc, I guess. And and Billy knew how to handle it. They had a detail. They had, they weren't stupid about what they were doing, but they really kept that sense of desperation going in the first half.
The greatest part about the translucent situation, right, is that it really tests Huey as a character, and that's the beginning of his transformation going forward. I mean, obviously it is. Also, having that situation where somebody's skin is impenetrable and they have to figure out how to off him, so cool. I mean, such an amazing thing to see on screen. That's what it's like. If you capture a superhero, you have to find their weakness. You know what I mean?
And to me, it was kind of crazy because they started to give him some personality. We actually went in there and sat down to talk with him.
Right.
And then still winds up blowing him to bits.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a crazy thing.
Has less reason to blow him up because he's bartering with him. He's showing them that he's an actual person. And then he still offs him. Oh,
I mean,
good.
I knew Huey could. I wasn't expecting him to.
Yeah, I mean, I read the comic book, so that kind of spoils it. So.
Yes, I mean, I didn't know it was coming, and it was just very graphic. I was like, "Yep, that's what it would look like if you blew up a human."
Right? Yeah, that's a big part of the show. What does it look like if Superman laser visions?
It doesn't hold back. It's not. You don't just disappear into a burst of energy. You get torn, dismembered, and fucked up. And I already lost it, so I'm just kind of going all out. I should probably try to put a lid back on it. Sorry.
That's a spoiler section.
But yeah, so when we do eventually,
it's the Wild West of this channel.
Yeah, man. Well, I appreciate you guys still sticking around despite me dropping some F-bombs here, but the show is full of F-bombs all way through. So
it's a completely mature show.
But anyway, me not being able to contain my swearing aside, one of the best sequences of the show was in episode 4, of course, when actually, we'll start with the first plane sequence.
The first one. So I love that he takes things into his own hands.
Yeah, because Stillwell's bartering with this guy from where was he from again?
Baltimore.
Baltimore. Yeah, I was going to say Baltimore. I wasn't sure. And they were deciding if Baltimore, if he wanted to pay to have a super policing Baltimore. Like you can just buy a super's presence and just go to Vought and buy a super to have come to your area, and it's like, wow, that's a thing. Okay. But then he makes a mistake of bringing up the Compound V. I almost said Velocity 9, which is from The Flash. And he brings up Compound V, and then there in the dead of night,
curtains for him right there. Curtains.
It was curtains, and that's when it really because they set it up, and for somebody who maybe Homelander or one of them besides Starlight might be a genuinely okay person. And so I figured, okay, maybe Homelander is the leader and he just kind of puts up with all the corruption. But when he goes up in the sky, man, he waves to the kid inside the plane and then blasts it out of the sky. Oh my God.
That's when the show starts. You know what I mean? That's when it really...
Oh my God. That is when you really realize who the villains are.
That's when you realize the dynamic of the show. I really like that Billy the Butcher is kept very ambiguous kind of going forward. So I think in like episode 3 you realize that he's the protagonist. He's one of the good guys. But By the way, somebody earlier was asking why it's called The Boys. The Boys is the name of the Butcher Gang. They're called The Boys.
So basically the squad of guys that are trying to
dismantle the
upend
supers
and dismantle Vought and the 7 supers. Yeah, they're just called The Boys. They just call themselves.
Speaking
the Boys.
of which, this is in my head, but the ending felt like the second to last episode. Like nothing was really tied up. Nothing was tied up.
Good
and I get
spot for a cliffhanger.
That's not even a cliffhanger to me. That's just like a reveal that then starts the next episode. You know what I mean? Because we still have a lot with Huey that we need to see, like resolution for the for this for the season.
Oh yeah, no one really got resolution. Still well, sure, but yeah.
Nothing. Yeah, it was a shame, and you see the great scene with Homelander's son and Rebecca, and that is something I believe ripped straight out of the comic books, at least a similar scene. So that was nice to see, but like I said, dude, that's a second to last episode.
Mm-hmm.
That's a second to last episode.
It felt that way. That sequence, and this always threw me because the actress who plays Rebecca, she played Patty Spivot on The Flash, one of Barry Allen's brief love interests.
Oh God.
And so that was always jarring for me, watching The Boys. So I'm like, that's Patty Spivot. That's Patty Spivot from The Flash. But yeah, dude, no, and so that was all really great. What really freaked me out with her character was definitely when the scientist responsible for creating Homelander lied to him first about what happened to her.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what a graphic scene. And they just hit you with that. Like, yep, this is what happened. And you just see, I was like, oh my God. That was rough because after Billy explains what happened, how she was apparently raped by Homelander, and then she went and sat on a bench for 3 hours, got up and left, and was never seen again. And no one could find her. He couldn't find her. Didn't matter what they did. She was gone. 8 years, she was gone. And when they just cut, and then the next episode or two, they just cut to that graphic scene of what seemingly happened. It was like, holy, you're not ready for it. And it was like, whoa, that was scary. That was because that was also very real. Like, what would it be like if somebody had to give birth to Superman, right? A human being.
That is what happens in the comic. In the comic, there is a premature labor. It rips through the stomach next to Billy the Butcher.
Horrifying,
yeah, dude.
Does she die in the comics?
Yes, she dies in that moment.
Oh, so she doesn't survive.
No, and she is also raped by Homelander. She is actually. So that's a big switch up,
Yeah.
Yeah, they did Homelander's son in the comics, but it didn't go very far. So.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, it's insane.
And dude, I loved Karl Urban in this. He's so good all the way through. As Billy Butcher, dude.
Billy Butcher, yeah.
I can't stand Thor Ragnarok and how it wastes Karl Urban. You couldn't even remember his character in Thor Ragnarok.
No, I couldn't.
When I brought it up.
No, I couldn't.
Scourge. Oh my gosh, what a way to waste actors. No, but he was excellent all the way through. And A-Train's whole story was pretty nuts.
A-Train's story was awesome, dude.
Yeah, that was crazy. I mean, and especially the shaky ground that his girlfriend was always on. I mean, trying to become a public figure with him and him just dragging her along. And then the second she lets one thing slip, he kills her. Mm-hmm. And it was like, whoa. And then he starts trying to blame Huey for it.
Yeah.
And in those final moments,
that's such a human thing to do is place blame on another person because you can't handle it. One thing I wish we would have seen though is something that's just completely missing and we get this with the Deep, but A-Train really harasses Starlighter in the comic books. It's bad. Like complete sexual harassment. Yeah.
They kind of gave that to the Deep.
They kind of gave that to the Deep, but the Deep also does it in the comics. So, what have been I believe I haven't read this comic in years, especially the beginning of the comic. So, the whole A-Train girlfriend thing, I don't remember that. That was new to me.
Mm.
So that was new. That was interesting.
That was grim.
That was grim. Yeah.
And the landlord scene. Okay, that was a scene.
But that was a scene. That was indeed a scene.
That was a scene. Yeah, and I mean, the rest of the show, like with the rest of the boys, like Mother's and his dynamic, I appreciated what he added. And the French guy, he was really great.
Frenchman. Yeah. No, I mean he's the same as the comic book version, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, man, I thought that he did a lot. Like I like that he had the moral compass, like even almost more so than Huey. Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he has his whole backstory about being trapped and abused and being forced into being a warrior.
And I mean the way he was just sticking up for Kamiko.
Yeah.
And just not willing to just let her be another victim of all of this was great, even if it cost a lot of lives. I mean, that was a really great dynamic. I mean, he just he just couldn't let it go. Even if it jeopardized the whole mission. I was really getting to the point, man, where I thought she wasn't going to come around. Like when she kept attacking him, I was like, she's not going to come around. Like he's made like 4 attempts already.
So in the comics, she's called the female in the comics.
Yeah.
The female is introduced in the 2nd issue, I believe, if I remember correctly. And it's way harder to get her to come around. But they also have more time in a comic book, of course.
Right.
Yeah, noting the medium.
And dude, just the corruption and how they're forced out on to say things and forced to smile and wave while they're killing people behind the scenes. I mean, that corruption when Homelander and Maeve they go up to kill a guy who's like, I think he was like a shooter or something, or he was like holding hostages.
Can we talk about the very beginning of the show, the very opening scene where he melts the gun onto the person's hand?
Yeah,
that was grim, dude. That made me more uncomfortable than him ripping people apart. Think about that metal leaking into all of your pores.
Oh my god.
I mean, you can actually imagine what that feels like. You can't imagine what your body getting sawed in half feels like. Jesus.
Those Homelander's big sequences, like especially the plane with Maeve. I mean, there's a plane hijacked, and Vought sends him up there just as a PR stunt. Save the plane, and it'll look great. And they'll get them closer to being able to be a part of the military. It's just a PR move. That's what everything is. It's all PR. PR. Who cares what actually happens? As long as nobody finds out. And dude, they think of themselves. They're so powerful that they're careless. They like Homelander genuinely doesn't really care what happens to these people.
Oh yeah.
And so he goes up there, they kill the first few guys. He visions, saws them in half, whatever. And then he's just careless and doesn't think about the pilot. And instead of trying to X-ray the wall and then just like blast him through the wall, he just opens the door. He killed the pilot. It's just like it's all so inconsequential to him. And then when he's just standing there and just smiling and waving, saying, "Oh, that was a big one. Oh, that turbulence," he's just playing the part to all these people who are about to die. They were all reassured at first, and now they're still going down, and they're not saving them. And all these people, 100, how many people? It's like 190 people or something, are all
137, yeah.
137 people are all looking at them and all realizing this for themselves.
Jesus.
And realizing what the 7 actually are. All those people figured it out. Most of those people were looking at them and noticed they were not saving them, that they were not doing anything. They stopped trying to help.
Oh, yeah.
And all those people had to face that same realization that Huey and Billy and the boys have already confronted.
Mm-hmm.
That the Seven are as evil as it gets, almost. And dude, when he's just standing there with Maeve, and Maeve obviously has some redeeming qualities, but she's corrupt too.
Well, she's indoctrinated is the difference with
Right.
Maeve, and that's the same in the comics. She's just completely at the will of the other heroes because she is still a human being under all that.
But even though she feels horrible for what's happening, Homelander's just standing there, just leaning on the wall, saying, like, what? There's nothing for me. I can't stop this plane. I can't. There's nothing to stand on. There's just air. What am I going to do? Fly 137 people out? The plane will crash. And they just can't have any survivors. They can't save the kid because then that kid will oust all of them, and it's just, who cares?
Mm-hmm.
They do. At that point, the plane is going down. They can't save them, so those people don't matter.
And
they are suddenly bad PR.
And they turn it into good PR at the end of the day. They turn that situation, their shortcoming.
Didn't they lie and say that they weren't even up there?
Oh, they said 3 minutes too late. But
yeah,
if
3
the
minutes
military would have scrambled them instead of the F-16 jets,
God, and when Homelander is like, get back or I'll laser all of you. Holy crap.
I know, dude.
And Maeve is trying to plead with him, and that mother's just saying, take my daughter. The show gets heavy. Because it presents you with very real situations. Nightmarish, very real situations that we've all thought about. And in this case, supers are involved, and it also shows you what it would be like if real supers existed.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a powerful scene. I mean, that scene is arguably the most iconic of the first season, almost.
Yeah, it's so hard for me to separate out, iconography with the show because I can't get the comic stills from the comics out of my head when I'm watching it. Specifically the Black Noir one.
Yeah.
I just sent you a comic still, by the way. That's the death of Robin in the comic, and you just look at how gnarly that is. I mean, that's worse than the show, in my opinion. I mean, that is insane.
Yeah, it looks weird. I can barely... Oh, God.
So, yeah, you can see it. Yeah, see that?
Yeah.
So that's super villain dynamic, and that I'm so glad it's missing from the show, but also... Like you're saying, the iconography in the show, dude, so many iconic superhero images. I mean, there are certain places where, certain scenes where it's directly pulled from comic panels. Specifically the hands right here, directly pulled from the pages of the comics. And it's just, oh, dude, the show is just framed. The show is framed so well.
It's rough. And what did you think of the whole reveal toward the end that Homelander was all experimenting with Compound V, and that's why A-Train was running around the world? That's why he hit that girl, was because he was running around the world and injecting people with Compound V to create super villains.
So I like that. That's completely missing from the comics.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting take. Really brought things full circle.
What's not missing from the comics is that Homelander loves Vought. He loves it. I mean, he's indoctrinated into it completely. Completely assimilated into it, so it makes sense. Also, what's not missing is the fact that he's a lot smarter than he seems. He seems like he's completely owned by Stillwell, but he's obviously
I hear that's really not the case in the comics. That he's not as with it.
Yeah, exactly. It's really nice to see him as the maniacal, and he kind of gets into that. So that's why I say it's not missing from the comics, because he does get into that, but not nearly to the degree he does in the show.
I knew somebody died at the end. I had seen a thumbnail. I remember seeing a thumbnail on YouTube of.
God, that's horrible that people are posting thumbnails with dead characters.
No, I just knew somebody died at the end. I didn't remember the name.
Yeah.
And but when I realized it was Stillwell, that was a crazy scene. When he just shows up and confronts Stillwell about having lied to him about Rebecca and his own son, and then he just melts her face. It's like, whoa! Oh man. And then at that point, that was when you realize that Billy Butcher has seen it all, and he's done. He doesn't care. He blows himself up with Homelander there, and the baby.
And what
Still
does
loves
Homelander
baby.
do? And what does Homelander do? Holy crap!
Doesn't save the baby. He saves Billy.
To do what though? To
Like
destroy him completely.
Yeah. Wakes him up, realizes that Rebecca has been at a safe house the last 8 years, raising baby home.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, whoa!
Wow, wowzers.
I mean, for people not familiar with the comics, that is quite a place to end the first season.
Yeah.
And I agree. I can understand why I can see why it should have gone on a little bit longer, but I think the show's not going anywhere.
Well, no, the reason why I say that is Billy the Butcher season 1 story is done great. But we need the other characters. We need their stories wrapped up. Season 1.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I can't think of anything else like off the top of my head to talk about.
Oh, I can. I want to talk about the comics a bit more because this show really
Please
does
do.
stray. Billy's fight with the baby in the comics, with Homelander's son in the comics, is really powerful, and it really cements his hatred towards superpowers. Really wish they would have included that, but they couldn't really with the narrative they were going for. In the comics, the boys are an actual black organization for the CIA, so they actually are part of the CIA. I hope that gets shown in season 2 or the coming seasons. They kind of allude to that with their CIA contact with Reyna in the season 1, in the show, with her meeting their demands, quote unquote. But I want to see them become actually official because it opens up a lot of really great things later on in the comic series. But yeah, dude, I mean, thrusting Homelander into the mastermind role that takes him a long time to get to in the comics is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, the actor who plays Homelander.
Oh my god.
I don't think I've ever seen him in anything else. That guy is like
the perfect Homelander.
He's like the perfect Homelander, and like Michael Fassbender V2. He's
dude.
Just, I mean, he's so great. They're both so great.
So maniacal.
That's who he reminded me of.
I agree with that. Being able to turn on that smile instantly, it reminds me of Magneto, dude.
Like I am so looking forward to whatever is in the pipeline for The Boys season 2. Now, I don't know if we should necessarily discuss the spoiler from the comics, like the big thing. Yeah, because I mean, not everybody has read the comics, and I don't think anybody. Not everybody's going to be as okay with knowing that, like I was.
Yeah.
So
it's such a hard thing to miss though, because dude, in like when did that happen? When that happened, dude, it was posted all over comic forums and stuff like that. So it's kind of hard to miss if you're in it. But I totally get it. I totally get it.
Yeah. So I mean, personally, I hope they don't go that direction. I hope that is one of the things they change up. Personally, I hope Kimiko's brother would be involved with that decision instead, or something, because that's obviously her whole shtick.
Mm-hmm.
She's trying to get back to her brother. But yeah, I personally because I think Homelander is such an interesting character that I wouldn't want them to go that route.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, because God, dude, I mean, I could just easily. I think we could easily just like enjoy like 3 to 4 more seasons, and Homelander would never get old.
Yeah.
He's just such a cool, unique, and complex character.
I want to say Homelander's a lot better in the show than in the comic books.
I've heard, yeah.
In the comics, he's very much a comically overdone character. So he's the one who forces the sexual harassment, like the blowjob onto Starlight. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so was the implication that she actually did that?
Oh yeah, dude, she did do it. She 100% did that.
No, but I mean on the show.
Yeah, in the show, yeah, 100%
That is
believe the
rough.
beat. Homelander, the comic, he's very much a maniacal, overly done comic book villain. And in saying that, I want to say this contrasts the comic and the show with how he's more of a movie villain. You know what I mean? He's that really maniacal and very straight man. I am the villain and I am dark and imposing, as opposed to in the comic books where all of the villains are campy. So it's really nice to see that contrast.
Yeah, dude.
I'm really enjoying the show.
Well, I am definitely considering rewatching it, like pretty soon. I remember I was seriously thinking about that, like as soon as I finish it, like within a day or two. Just like playing it in the background while I work on figures.
You are a crazy person.
I enjoyed The Boys season 1 like that much, so. Yeah, but I think on that note, Tate, that is going to do it for episode 25.
All right, that is all from us.
All right, until next week, everybody, thanks for hanging out, especially all of you who either don't care about spoilers or already watched The Boys. Thanks for being around this far, we will see you next Sunday.
But hey, Ross, real quick.
Yeah.
You know what's better than 24?
25.
25.
All right, guys. See you next week. We are inevitable. Yada, yada, yada. Thanks for watching.
Okay.
Bye, guys.